A 17-year-old girl just swam the 100-metre breaststroke faster than every Australian woman alive except two, and the number she posted was 1 minute, 5.97 seconds. Say that number out loud and it doesn't sound real because it isn't supposed to be possible for someone her age, in her situation, coming from where she comes from. There's no sponsorship deal behind this swim, no private coach flown in from overseas, and no elite academy funding her rise. She's still doing homework for Albury High School, where her own father happens to be the principal, which means she goes home every night to the same house, the same family, the same ordinary routine that every other kid in that town has. The swimmer whose 23-year-old record she just erased is a 4-time Olympian, carrying 9 Olympic medals. Someone most swimmers in this sport will never come within a second of, let alone beat. Kaylee McKeown, the 5-time Olympic gold medalist, has been watching this kid closely, and we'll get to what she said about her, but first you need to understand where this girl actually came from, because it's not what you'd expect. And honestly, it makes what she's done even harder to believe. Albury sits right on the border between New South Wales and Victoria, and if you're not Australian, there's a good chance you've never heard of it. It's the kind of country town people associate with cattle, not champions, and it doesn't even have an indoor swimming pool, which means the town's outdoor pool literally shuts down for winter. Picture that for a second. An entire town with swimming in its blood and no way to train through the cold months. That's where Sienna Toohey grew up, born in March of 2009 alongside 2 brothers, Archie and Jed, both swimmers themselves, splashing around in the same local club before any of this started to matter. Here's the twist though. Toohey didn't set out to swim competitively at all. She got into the pool because she wanted to play water polo, and swimming ended up being the side door that changed everything. Nobody signed her up expecting a champion, and she certainly didn't walk onto the deck expecting to become one. At age 9, she landed with a breaststroke coach named Joe Gibbs at Albury Swim Club, and Gibbs' whole approach was to slow things down rather than speed them up, training 3 or 4 times a week on technique instead of forcing a prodigy narrative onto a 9-year-old. That patience matters, because plenty of young talents get burned out chasing results too early, and Gibbs seemed determined not to let that happen here. What makes this stranger is that at 13, she wasn't even racing at the big meets yet. She was working as a basket handler, running discarded jackets and shoes on and off the pool deck for stars like Kaylee McKeown and Kyle Chalmers. Think about that role for a second, standing poolside, handing gear to Olympic champions, close enough to see their whole pre-race routine up close, yet nowhere near their level herself. The kid fetching gear for Olympic champions was about to become one herself, and nobody watching that day had any idea what they were looking at. By 2023, at just 14 years old, she'd already broken 5 records at the School Sports Australia Championships, numbers that turned heads locally but didn't make national news. Even then, nobody was calling her the future of Australian swimming. That part comes later. Here's the part nobody talks about. Toohey nearly made the 2024 Paris Olympic team, and she came close enough that it still stings when people bring it up. At the Australian Olympic Trials in Brisbane in June of 2024, 15-year-old Toohey swam a 1 minute, 7.01 in the 100-metre breaststroke final, a time that broke a 24-year-old national age record set by Olympic legend Leisel Jones back in 2000. That swim should have been the headline splashed across every sports page in the country. Instead, it became a footnote because Toohey finished 3rd, missing the actual Olympic team by less than 1/10 of a second, a margin so small it barely registers on a stopwatch. 1/10 of 1 second. That's what stood between a 15-year-old from a town with no indoor pool and a trip to the Paris Olympics. She'd trained outdoors through every kind of weather, rain, wind, freezing mornings, whatever the season threw at her, and she'd relocated to Canberra, 350 kilometres from home, for 6 weeks just to prepare for that one meet. And after all of that, it still wasn't enough. For plenty of athletes, that's the moment the dream quietly ends. Watching the Olympics happen on television, while your own training partner, Ella Ramsey, gets to walk out under the lights instead of you. Nobody knew whether Toohey would break through after that heartbreak, or whether she'd become just another near-miss story that fades once the spotlight moves on to the next prodigy coming up behind her. Before we get to the moment that changed everything, I want to know something from you. Did you see this coming from a 17-year-old in a country town with no indoor pool? Tell me honestly in the comments. I read every single one, and I'm genuinely curious how many of you clocked her as a future star back then. June 9th, 2026, the Australian Swimming Trials in Sydney, Night 2. This is the meet where Commonwealth Games and Pan-Pacific Championship spots actually get decided. No medal ceremony involved, just a plane ticket sitting on the line for whoever touches the wall first. Toohey is 17 now, coming off a breakout World Championship debut in Singapore the year before, where she'd already picked up a silver medal in the medley relay and made a 50-metre breaststroke semi-final against some of the best swimmers on the planet. But this final, the 100-metre breaststroke, is the one everybody in the building is actually watching, because everyone senses something is coming. The gun goes off and Toohey goes out like she's got nothing to lose, splitting 30.58 for the first 50 metres, a number nearly identical to her own personal best in the 50-metre breaststroke by itself. That's the kind of speed most swimmers save for a race half this distance. Most swimmers who go out that hard fade badly on the second lap, their arms turning to lead by the final 15 metres. Toohey doesn't fade. She turns for home, splits 35.39 coming back, and holds every bit of that opening speed all the way to the wall. 1 minute, 5.97 seconds. Say it again. 1 minute, 5.97 seconds. That single swim cut nearly half a second off her own personal best in one race, which in this sport is an enormous jump for anyone, let alone a swimmer already sitting near the top of the national rankings. It also broke Leisel Jones's 17-year-old age record, a mark of 1 minute, 6.37 that had stood since 2003, set at the Barcelona World Championships, where it was actually a world record at the time it was swum. Toohey didn't just take down a national age group mark that belonged to a legend, she beat a time that used to be the fastest in the entire world. Full stop. And in doing so became the first Australian woman since Chelsea Hodges in 2021 to break the 1 minute 6 barrier in this event at all. Let's put that number in real context, because on its own, it's just digits on a scoreboard. 1 minute, 5.97 puts Sienna Toohey third on the all-time list of Australian women in the 100-metre breaststroke. Not top 10, not top 5. Third in the entire history of the country's swimming programme. Ahead of her sits only Leisel Jones at 1 minute, 5.09, the actual national record set in 2005. And Sarah Katsoulis at 1 minute, 5.86, set back in 2009. That's the entire list standing between her and the top spot in Australian history. Two names, both set nearly 2 decades ago or more. Do the math on what that actually means. This is a kid who broke a Leisel Jones age record at 15, broke another one at 16, and then broke a third one, a mark that used to be a world record, at 17. 3 different ages, 3 different Jones records, all gone, one after another like clockwork. And here's the part that should really stop you. Her time this season ranks 5th in the entire world, out of every breaststroker on the planet, and she's doing it from a town that doesn't even have an indoor pool to train in during winter. So what happens now? That swim didn't just move her up a list, it punched her ticket to 2 major meets, the 2026 Commonwealth Games in Glasgow and the Pan-Pacific Championships, both within reach in the same year. Glasgow comes next, and this time Toohey isn't walking in as a promising junior nobody's heard of. She's walking in as the 3rd fastest Australian woman in history, in an event her country hasn't dominated globally since Leisel Jones herself retired from the sport. And remember Kaylee McKeown, the 5-time Olympic gold medalist who's been watching Toohey's rise up close? She's reportedly reached out to Toohey directly, encouraging her to enjoy the process instead of letting the pressure crush her before she's even had the chance to peak. That says something. When one of the greatest swimmers Australia has ever produced takes the time to talk to a teenager one-on-one, because she sees what's coming too, maybe better than anyone else in the building. LA 2028 is still 2 years away, but look at the progression on its own. 1 minute 7 at 15, 1 minute 6 at 16, 1 minute 5.97 at 17. If that curve keeps bending the way it has for 3 straight years, Leisel Jones's actual national record, 1 minute 5.09 untouched since 2005, isn't safe forever, and everyone in Australian swimming knows it. Tell me what you think a country town kid with no indoor pool ends up doing to Leisel Jones's last untouched record. And tell me honestly whether you'd have bet on her 2 years ago, right after she missed the Olympic team by 1/10 of a second. Drop it below. Every comment gets read.